right away, and I wanted to read it, and I'm going to start with this. It's not these guys. There were other guys involved in this, and it's not this town, but it was a Nebraska Lit Festival. It's called What Be and Ain't in Omaha. Old Greener Ford truck be riding high, wide, and handsome down Dodge above Beamers and Volvers, carrying certifiable Republican accountants and constipated shoe-lit clerks, and wives turned out too nice for the dentist, sinning maybe their Friday afternoon away. When northern boys come to town, ain't for fast food, nor the West Roads, nor the Crossroads, nor the Regency Court, 'cause Kmart by any name be just a store, and northern boys ain't buying. What ain't no longer be the stockyards, 'cause some pandering Chamber of Commerce son of a bitch cemented over where the sweat of Swedes and Germans and blacks and Irish and Poles stewed in the blood of Sandhills beeves, and Wobbly's got a foothold, and a Union man and blackjack a scab sooner than spit. What be a parking lot, but what ain't be a space for Greener Ford. But northern boys be moving a sign to make one, and what be nobody the wiser nor the poorer for it. Ain't no perfect cup of coffee inside neither, and neither can northern boys find no gambling, and chicken ranches all be rumor in the smog. Northern boys be in a fever for George Dickel and ditch water feeding straight through the hotel faucet pipes right out of the big river, which ain't a branch of nothing, 'cause the Mississippi only be an upstream fork and only the maps ain't yet be corrected. Northern boys be trimming American language till only form of B, and pretty soon pretty women be making a loop to see northern boys be making loose change disappear inside a Bailey hat. And if someone be needing a hanging, a rope be handy. But mostly the peoples let northern boys be, because they be knowing Mr. Smith and Mr. Wesson personal. And when northern boys spit or piss, the big river be swelling out of its downstream banks. But when northern boys be waking up in hotel room, it be cans and bottles be rolling off their blankets to the floor rug. And northern boys ain't be so cocky now. Old Greener Ford be hitting every pothole on Dodge, but pretty soon old Greener's tail will be wagging to the city, be reminding northern boys fresh spirits be handy in the glove box. Northern boys be leaving lighthearted, because northern boys be, and all that be northern boys, and what ain't be of no consequence. Thank you. Unbelievable. Yeah. All right, I'll put some verbs back into this one. Just for the heck of it. So Rex, your teacher was, what was his first name? Bond?
Keith Bond.
Keith Bond. My junior high, whatever they taught us in junior high, history, whatever it was Zach Bond. His brother?
I don't know.
It was his brother.
Oh, really?
Bullet-headed, thick as this,
okay.
but not short. And not only a Golden Gloves boxer, the former heavyweight champion of the armed services. Ooh. A very well-spoken man. It was this kind of weird thing, because he was all that. But he spoke this sort of perfect, cultivated English all the time. He was very polite. He was very quiet. Wonderful guy. He scared the bejesus out of me. It's got nothing to do with the poem. Traveling man. Let's see. 1. Hot butter yellow kitchen, dark barking dogs charging away from this flue through the black box of a back door into blowing ticker tape to run off tonight's blizzard. I trail them out. 2. Standing in the road on throb an ankle bruised blue, green, yellow from a fumbled chunk of mulberry firewood. Big old coyote across the moonlit snow, caught in the short grass, come hither stare over her shoulder. 3. Winter war fatigue. This plan for universal health, fresh food and ardent kisses, an abundance of beer, grass, and enthusiastic sex. She laughs, sunshine and ice in her breath. One thing about checking. I always try to be very conscious of not going over time, because I think that's rude and all that. But I always forget to look at my watch when I start. So, Okay, subtract 3. Okay, I got it more or less. If it goes on too long, just start booing and hissing. I can take a hint. There's a poem called Road Work. There's in the second line, second or third line, it's gonna say insist, which sounds like INSISTS. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it's actually insist, CYSTS. I wanted you to know. Road work. Last of a winter cold, insist in my throat, not much more than meds in my belly this moist spring AM. When I kneel to ear tag her fresh calf, the little red mama cow charges through the amniotic mist like a spendthrift. Nothing but 100 acres of open grass to hide in, no more ground for me to give. Friends post their status on virtual walls. The American dream open for business. Red neon blinks in the gloom. Souls bought at wampum prices. By afternoon, I say I'm ready to drive away. Window shop these end of America blues. Make a run at Nirvana. Maybe shoot for a distant connection's house. The low sky leaches the color of trees, fields, pastures to the gray shade of highway. An old river valley cottonwood bows for the wind's polite applause. Crossing a dam at 4:34, it's all spilt milk and the politics of pouring rain. Out of plexiglass C-store door, prism puddles by the sheltered pumps, falling water splatters on asphalt like the cow of heaven pissing on the flat as a plate rock of earth to the last bladder draining flush. And here comes the sun from beneath the hood of breaking clouds over the sparkle of far red grass hills, like a lover winking across the party or morning sheets, like the lover standing by my side. Thanks, Neil. Water. Water, water. At the crossroads. There's a little epigraph here from a friend. I mean, it's sort of maybe a nasty thing to do, but people say things and I find them interesting, and so then I use them as epigraphs for poems. And after the poem is published, I try to get him a copy of it, but I never ask anybody. But my buddy Scott Steele said, got to go through the mud to get to paradise at the crossroads. Among the damned liars and whores, they are one lucky son of a bitch on a hell of a ride. First read in the cards and the stars and the headlight glint of gravel. Blood signed in the burgs and bars like this one, where they face front from a back table to keep the narrow joint in perspective. Front door in plain sight, big screen TV on its right, cases of beer stacked over the window opposite. Scarred bar stretching back to the fry kitchen, jukebox on the left and near, its revolution of lights and music, a fine screen for the pump gun that leans there. Behind them, the bulletproof pool table, an emergency fastback exit if any of the wrong folks come in out of the night looking to make things right. Thanks. Where we live, and where many of you may live too, I suspect, we're just getting to the end of the really, really dangerous time of the year. I mean, it can get 20 below and the wind can blow 40 miles an hour and it can be a foot of snow. That's fine. But the big problem is, 8-foot tall corn on county roads in the hills. And, I'm not the only one in here who can go through a list of people who had accidents, who, were hurt badly or didn't survive from that. They're combining it now. I'm happy. Not trying to step on anybody's toes, but I'm happy it's $3 a bushel too, because if it gets cheap enough, they'll quit. And those roads will be safer. Which would, among other things, be a great ecological advantage to Mother Earth, I believe. Yeah, I'll stick with that one. Motion. Sometimes town makes me mean, like just after that sideways grin of a crescent moon framed just so out my only west window is eaten by the shadowed head of another squatter's tree. And when a beer on the back stoop, even in the first night of 100, I don't need to ice the other 5 ain't enough. And even the rich language of curses fails, a city man like me turns the key and floats through all the high corn corners, each blind intersection out to nowhere, a life and death risk, but less than another stay alone scratch on my spirit. I don't stop till I find a spot along the edge of the Milky Way, planets and stars so common in the sky, the old ones made up games and the names of their odd geometries. In their light, I gather some subspecies of sunflower from a long, deep ditch, while the familiar star-sketched lines of brow and jaw and curve of lip hang over my shoulder. The text I read in connected dots of light at this point in eternity, this portrait of what might have been among all the past and future perfect tenses, a devolution of the epic, the classic, the cosmic, to the merely personal, as if in all of space and time the gravity of one little life could pull the heavens into new prisms of shape, the way an eye tunnels light or a flower captures the sun and commands its color. And when the beer is gone, my boots cold in the gravel, and only a line of cold light between cold stars etching the crack of a heart meat remains, I point my nose the other way to the low glow of streetlights. And because the county closed this road to build another bridge to nowhere, I risk the highway, DUI, and every stranger I meet. Another tremendous crash with dead among the wreckage, and me on a collapsible gurney with my good name and flowers scattered in the strobe of the state teased cherries. I can't help but move to her motion. Face it, boys, you've risked more before for less. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm really looking forward to spring. It's not that I like fall. I just don't like what comes after fall.
I like Santa Claus.
I hate to break this to you. I won't. I like Santa Claus too. Rubber bullet. As I've been writing over the years, I've found that my titles have less and less to do with anything. You know, they used to sort of indicate that this was what the poem was about. Mostly now they're just kind of a phrase I like, and I've got it, and I couldn't work it into a poem, so I just stamped, you know. So if you're looking for the rubber bullet, yeah, don't worry. Geese wilding south last fall, skies of Canada's snows, blues, showed no omen fear of cold, rain, ice, snow, wide water, steel shot, powder blast concussion and sundown sky, starvation sickness and winter cattails on a hard, long, lucky flight to paradise. Lift of wing on frigid wind drives heart's blood, no thought at all to us walkers who hummock up against weather, watch a world of tattered white through frosted glass, skate our short haul commutes for God and country, the riots of our longing lives ends in themselves. She don't care for his breaking the law, his harmless fun, illegal smile, that he don't feel for marriage, children, bank accounts, property. Lies, 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 just a bunch of stories. Go, and he leaves. Ice, all that's abundant, an icicle clarity of empirical evidence, a horrid winter world. Everyone agrees he can't be trusted. His fortune cookie, inscrutable. You will always be surrounded by true friends. Frostbit cheek, leap year, March light through his west window. Old skinny cows, bellies round with calf, young-legged red horse, easy in tall grass, deep snow and greasy quarter-inch thaw, westering sun and thin air, sky high past winter into space. Father and daughter on streets of a church-riddled town, Chinese pasteboard cartons like school children's lunch pails. In the night sky honking, keep going, keep going, keep going. An orphan V winging northwest into the new moon smile promises a better life after this season passes. I'm noticing here that for a guy who hates winter, I'm sure obsessed with it. These are all kind of winter poems right now. I suspect the difference is, as a poet, winter's a great time to be writing. Because it's like, why go outside and it's not fun outside, so sit in there and make up little word games. Nice hat, Rex. I like it.
Thank you.
Coldmaker rode in again last night on his big blue roan wind, froze yesterday afternoon's melt to a wide, rough river. Like the rowels, this widower stuck deep into the saddle girth after that spotted colt. Lucky, he called him then, went straight into the sky from a standing start, dropped again to lethal earth and froze. But for two thumping hearts and the quiver up and down 6 legs, they would have been ice. Now, even in this awful cold, he stays away from the shade of marriage haunting the house, stands glacial in the corral. His long string of gentle, tall horses munch the best prairie hay trucked in from his home range far across the hills and up the river. The two thin mares lick the last of the oats from their nose bags. Long shivers run under their shaggy hair. His blood freezes. He stands for another eternity in this heaven of horses. Intermission. Drink a beer. Oh, another winter poem. Maybe there's a couple of things I might just mention quickly. A few years ago, my son, and the woman who's now my daughter-in-law, lived in Ecuador, and so I got to spend a few days around New Year's trekking through the Andes, and it was a wonderful time. People were great, really tiny villages, very friendly people, and because of the time of year, we'd walk, stay in a town, walk the next day, stay in another town. Did this for several days, and we struck like 3 or 4 New Year's Eve parties. One of the things I found, though, that there really wasn't a lot of drinking in South America. I don't know. Those people seemed happy. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. So that shows up in here. The other thing I think is this poem. Some of you would have seen this. I've seen horses do it quite a bit. I've seen cows do it once in a while. Stand around a stock tank when it's deeply cold and just stand and breathe, hold their noses, their muzzles sort of over the ice, and they'll stand there. I don't know how long they must, but they will melt a hole in that ice so they can get the water beneath that. I always thought that was pretty smart of them. Yeah. And more patience than I've got. I'm just a guy, I'd just go get an axe and knock a hole in it. Flurries. Every boho there's an epigraph. Every boho on the plains knows February makes hope its bitch. Jack Brown. A body of water freezes from the top, and northern mares will shelter in the lee of a barn, heads down in equine dreams, while winter air cured in body heat funnels from frosted nostrils onto ice for the time it takes to make open water. I know the wind a good tale takes to tell will melt a hole through the ice of this day, and for the right long story I'd trade the devil all the ragged flakes of my flying dreams. This winter's green-leafed Andes, the track of mud and rock and running water, the now and again corduroy of felled trees, towns without roads in their machines, the picketed 12-hand-high mules and horses of those from up and down the slopes in to celebrate with football and homemade hooch, not the new year but the old. A scarecrow stuffed with fireworks, all our long trout-toed troubles blasted and burned to ash, wafting high into the night rain. Narrative is what we create when we can of the infinity of facts at our fingertips. This plains winter constitutes only its own story. filling my head and heart with blues when I let down my guard for the time it takes to tell it all. With no gunpowder straw man to ignite, let me begin with the good of the day. Piles of alien fruits, fresh from 21st century ports, arrayed across the kitchen counter. Grass-finished beef stowed in the basement freezer. Black blood bottles of St. Valentine's wine. A horde of streamed digital entertainment, central heat, and a window I stare through as if I could melt the view of city street filling with blue snow. I think I'm off because I'm going to finish with a new poem. Last year I quit teaching, quit my day job. Much of which I like that job very, very, very much. Mostly the students. Boy, I hated a lot of the rest of it. I mean, you guys ever run into administrators? You never run into any of those people out there? There's a little bit, so this poem has something to say about that. And there's a little, the poem says it, but I'll just say it. I'll just do a very quick lecture on this. As I understand it, there are two traditions of cowboying in this country. There's the Texas version and there's the California version. And they're very different in many ways, though they've blended now to some large degree, which would be expected. When it comes to roping, the Texans tie down hard and fast. They just take the end of the rope and just tie that sucker to the horn, which is kind of cool unless something goes wrong. The vaquero, the buckaroo, version of that is dally roping, where you catch the thing and then you just take the tail of the rope and you take some dallies around your saddle horn. And it's really much better in many ways. It's easier because you can let that rope slide and you can handle that critter without maybe so much jerking around, and it's just, I prefer that. All right, now you know all you need to know to get this poem. Jump, Derby Day. I'm a black cat in a back alley behind a bar the afternoon before branding, racing home for an hour of fast-forwarded build-up to the best 2 minutes in sport. I'm a cowboy moseying off the curb watching cops at the cable company down the block when some long-shot Jesus corners a Pontiac Sunbird. And to think I might have died. To think graduation's come and gone, my latest and last students scattered like shot. A year from now, no grades to award, we'll brand in the first good weather, get a leg up on summer, and have nothing at all left to fret about. I'm a white beard, I'm 2 weak eyes. I'm a whiskerless schoolmarm trying to be a 30-foot hard twist snake of an arena rope tied hard and fast to the horn, when luck double hawks something out of dust and air. Horse and calf and vaquero nodded. And no turning back from my father's hands that'll lace tomorrow's longer, softer line across the dirt, take their dallies around the horn, give and take all the way to the branding fire. Sure, I miss a turn and lose a calf again and now, but I've studied the lesson taught to me, and education's learning how much to let slip and when to let go. Thanks, everybody.